Have you ever worked your way towards the top or towards a goal only to realize that the version of success, the version of the outcome, the what you were striving for, what you built doesn't feel quite like you? It's like it's like wearing armor that wasn't built for you. I might be dating myself a little bit here, but I love A Knight's Tale. And I remember, Heath Ledger, he's going and he's trying to work his way into this tournament because he wants to win the bride, right? Win the queen. And but he meets somebody along the way that he is supposed to train, is supposed to help him. And the first thing she says is, "You're wearing armor that's not yours." So it may be impressive looking. Um, it may be, well, like it's clunky and it may be impressive. It may look nice. But it wasn't built for you. And it's not like it's wrong. That armor got him to where he was. Like, it worked so far. And that's what we do too. We build armor. We build our suit. We build towards this goal. We build towards our identity that we know. And then when we get there, we realize that it doesn't really match who we are now. And so when Heath Ledger in this, he gets the armor that's thinner and fits him better. It's able to work. It's able to get him to the next level. So again, it's not like that armor initially was bad. Like, we don't need to feel guilty or shamed for even wanting it in the first place. This goal is that sometimes we go and we don't realize where we're going until we get there. We don't realize the identity we built. We don't realize um, well how our leadership and our identity shifts, and we kind of get out of alignment. And so this is what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about what happens when your identity and your leadership get out of alignment, and what it really takes to lead with clarity and purpose. Because if it looks like success and it sounds like success, but it feels off, it feels heavy, it feels uncomfortable, it's misaligned success. It's misaligned, and it's not something that is going to feel, you're not being in your zone. You're not going to feel natural carrying it. So, welcome to A Leader's Purpose, the first official podcast with this rebrand. I am so excited that you're here. If you've listened to Her Restored Spirit and The Full Way to Joy, and now you're on this journey with me, and I already kind of explained the last podcast, my thought process and why it shifted to this, but I am so thankful that you're here. I'm so glad that you're on this journey. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Tammy. I am the host. I am an executive coach, and I help leaders lead with purpose, lead with identity, and really step into who they're called to be. And so today I want to talk about this pressure to perform versus the power to lead. Because performance and leadership are two different things, and sometimes they're both needed. But I want to talk about when it doesn't align, when it doesn't work, in your family, or with your team, or with yourself, or like you can. This transcends just one area of your life, and actually can, if you're misaligned, it falls into multiple typically. And so, first, I want to talk about the hidden identity crisis behind high performance. So high performance leaders, they typically reach a point, and high performance people in general, they reach a point where everything on the outside is polished. Everything looks good. It looks like you're successful. You look like you've made it. You're just going, and on the outside, everything looks like it's supposed to. But it's when you look on the inside, you feel disoriented. It feels heavy. It feels clunky. There's a misalignment. You feel guilty sometimes because you've achieved what you've set out to achieve, and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel fulfilled. You don't feel the peace and the joy that you were promised, that you wanted, and the actual outcome that we want. Like, yeah, we want to achieve our goals, but we want to get what the results, the outcomes, the goals provide us. And so may have hit your goals, you've earned respect, you've led well, and you still feel disconnected. And you're not ungrateful. You're just misaligned. You're not doing the wrong thing. You're just misaligned. You're not, you don't have to chuck it all. Like, it's not that you are not where you're supposed to be. It's time to shift some of our expectations, some of our identity, and like readjust it and look at our values in order to align them again, to make them to work. Because success without self-awareness isn't leadership, it's performance. And if you do it for too long, if you just succeed, and you keep performing for too long without taking a look at your identity, the self-awareness, then you're going to leave your team, your family, even your own desires behind. And it's not in a behind as in like see you later. It's going to be in a behind as in what are you even doing here? Like you're not even happy. And I know that I've been here before, and I've talked to so many people who are. And so I really just wanted to share this because it keeps coming up. This idea of, this pressure to perform versus the power to lead. And so, when the self awareness element, which we'll get to in a few moments, this is where the success isn't performance, it's actually alignment. It is where we can make a bigger impact. We can use our gifts and our skills to go in the direction. And again, like it's not that the goal you wanted was wrong or bad. It's just your identity, it transformed throughout the journey, which is not a bad thing. It is what you want to do. You want to level up your identity. You want to level up your self-awareness and your leadership, because if we're on this journey alone, like what is the point? Especially if you're a leader, who are you going to lead besides yourself if you leave everyone else in the dust? And so the first thing I want to talk about really is this external validation versus internal alignment. Our world rewards output. Most likely your boss, they validate or they measure you on the output that you perform, right? And it's not that this is like, oh no, I'm not going to deal with outputs anymore, because let's face it, we have to. Even being self-employed, even having my own, outputs are important. But the thing is, our soul craves alignment. Our soul craves the meaning, connection, purpose, identity, calling, fulfillment, peace, joy. Like our soul craves this alignment. And really, computers, AI, like they can all produce outputs, especially in like things that people used to be able to do, like spreadsheets and different things. Like AI can do it faster, better, less mistakes. And it's not something that we have to be afraid of. It actually gives us the freedom to step back and say, okay, what is my soul craving? What alignment and what other skills and strengths can I bring to this that no computer, no one else can? And I don't want to make this about like AI versus humans. I do think that the AI is going to it is going to take some of the work away from humans, but it also allows us to be more creative, more communicative, more like connection. Like AI and computers can't connect the same way that people do. So there is, let that happen. Let that, and anyway, I don't want to go into that. That's a whole nother podcast, because I know several of my clients are worried about their jobs because of the AI revolution. And this is where we get to look, because if you understand your strengths, you understand what your zone of genius and the value you bring, you don't have to worry, because AI can't bring the same creativity and the same alignment that you can, that same connection that you can. But this external validation and internal alignment, more and more, it's going to become important, because you need to know what your strengths are. You've learned how to succeed by becoming who others need you to be. You learned to succeed by producing the outcomes that your job required, which is okay, which is good. And it's time, when you've reached a level of success, when you've reached this, now you're a manager or a department head, or you have a team under you. They're the ones who are going to do the outputs. They're the ones who are going to create the ones and zeros. They're going to create the widgets. They're going to create, and it's you get to lead them. You get to pour into them. You get to bring your strengths, because you're there for a reason. You get to lean more into that leadership. And by doing that, by looking at your internal alignment, you're able to do that so much stronger. So now that you're craving success that doesn't cost you your identity. You want your team to not perform, you want your team to succeed as a versus just outcomes, versus just one person or just you succeeding. It becomes a team sport. It becomes something that you worry about them, they worry about the job, right? Like it's another level. And so you may start to wonder like, am I leading or am I just performing someone else's definition of leadership? If you haven't been taught how to lead, it's really hard to do it, especially when sometimes our models, our examples are not great leadership, or they're from old cultures. They're from years ago that you worked your way up in one organization. You didn't need the flexibility. You didn't need that, you learn your job and that's it. And so you can't wear armor that was made for someone else and expect it to fit, to expect it to do the same thing. Like you can't wear someone else's leadership and expect your people to respond the same way you did. And this is why it's so, 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 so important that we start to see ourselves clearly. And this is why this is the first thing I do with my clients, is because we can't lead others clearly if we are disconnected from who we are. Clarity isn't found in another leadership course or another title. It's found in identity alignment. Until you start to see yourself clearly, and I say that because I don't want you to see yourself how you want to be in 5 years. That's great. Let's build towards that identity. But if you need to know your starting point, you also don't need to see who you were 3 years ago, or when you were fighting, fighting for the position you are now, when you were building, or even just the life experiences you have now versus 10 years ago. So you want to see yourself clearly now, because then that gives you the information you need to start acting on. Your first job as a leader isn't to inspire others, as most people think. Like the whole thing, the only job of a leader is to inspire and lead others. Well, I say it's actually to see yourself clearly, understand your strengths, your value, what you do and what you bring that's completely different than other people. Because when you understand yourself, when you understand your core motivations, and no, we all don't have the same core motivations. And I guarantee that if you were leading 5 people, at least 3 of them, okay? Like there are some that may be same motivations as you, but it will look different. But I guarantee at least 3 of them will have completely different motivations. And so when you see yourself clearly and you understand your reactions, your responses, what your goal is, then you're able to step back and you can lead them in a way that they need to be led. You can't do that if you don't see yourself first. Before you can lead with conviction, you have to see yourself clearly. Before you can lead with conviction, you have to know what your conviction is. Like if you don't know why behind the why, if you don't understand why you're doing this thing or why you want this, and if it is just, I have a client and a friend who she's an Enneagram 3, she's the achiever. And she was all about getting that success. And she's like, why isn't my team responding? I was like, well, have you asked your team what their motivations for this are? Like, what angle are they looking at this project? And one of their team members was a numbers person. They wanted to make sure that the numbers aligned. And so it wasn't just that they wanted success. They wanted to succeed, but they wanted the numbers to show that success and to be sustainable. And so though the leader felt that she was slowing things down, she was actually ensuring the sustainability of the project. And so when we slow down and when we understand what our convictions, what our motivations are, then we're able to lead from a different place, from this power this power to lead versus the pressure to perform, this power of leaning into who you are versus just being afraid of what, this fear of what the outcome needs to look like. Because sometimes the outcome isn't actually what you believe it to be, like what you're envisioning, because you've never been there, you haven't done it, so you don't know. You're just thinking, you're looking at your experiences. And so our first job is not just to inspire others. It is to see ourselves clearly first. Because when you know what your conviction is, then you can lead with conviction. And so that's one reason why, like, I'm excited about something that I'm releasing later this summer that helps you reconnect with your wiring, your wants, your leadership rhythm, because clarity is where it all starts. When you have this clarity, then all of a sudden your reactions, you're not triggered as easily as you were before. You can communicate, you can understand what you're wanting and where it's falling short, and communicate that. You're able to talk about it in a way that others can hear you versus just you talking for at them, talking to them and with them versus at them. And so as I close here, as I'm really looking at this idea of this pressure that we feel, because as we build this identity, as we go up until now, if we don't take time to actually realign our identity with our leadership, I realign our identity with our purpose. I realign our identity with our strengths, because even as we up level our strengths, then our identity shifts in that. And a lot of times this misalignment that we're feeling, we think that it's other people. We think that it's our team, when really it starts with us. One of the things I just started with a new client, and one of the things he said is, I understand that the success that we get with coaching is mine. And also, if we don't achieve the goals with coaching, it's mine. And, just that whole idea of, he took ownership for his actions. And that's, as a leader, that is a true leader. Take ownership for your actions. Now, because I am invested as well, I want him to succeed. But in coaching, it's not about me telling you what to do. I know that you know. You know yourself. You are the expert on you, and you know what your motivations and what you really want. And if you don't know, we figure that out first. But I'm not the creative one in your position to get that. I get to ask you the right questions, or, not even the right question. I get to ask you questions. I get to help you see what success is for you. Because I guarantee, like, even when I look at myself, the way I defined success when I was in my 20s is not the same way I define success now that I'm in my 40s. Even when I look at, we were doing vision boards with one of my clients. We were talking about it, and we were talking about, like, where do you want to live? Because she's in her early 30s, and she's pregnant with her first child, and so she has this vision of grandeur and what she wants. And it was really funny because we started talking about what this ideal house was. And I don't know about you, but 40 years ago, 30 years ago, when you were younger and looking at success and looking at what your life would be like, this big mansion. I mean, we even played games, right? These little, like, MASH and different things as in high school, where it's like mansion, apartment, something, studio and house, I think is what it is. And so you guess what the number is, and you do all the things, and you're like, oh, I'm living in the mansion. And we both laughed, because our idea of success does not mean a big house. Like, it does not, and not that it's wrong if you do, like, if that's what you want, it's not wrong at all, but it's the idea of that success that others were projecting, and that this is what society said was success. As we get older, we know that that's not it, that we get to define it for ourselves, and that it's important that we do. And so when your leadership doesn't feel like you are wearing an armor that doesn't fit, like, if you're clunky and you're not able to move and shift and do things that you want to do, it's time to get new armor. It's time to realign yourself with your purpose, with your core values, with your strengths, with your why. And so we get to step into this. We get to find the clarity that we need, and then we can step into leadership and inspire others. If you think about leaders that inspire you, are they just performing? Like, you can tell when the person who is supposed to lead you, that manage you, or your boss, right? You can tell when their goal is just a finality of outcome. You could tell when it's like, I need X widgets made and that's it. But when they care about you as a person, something's different. They have the strength to, and the boldness and the confidence to step into who they are and to lead you well. Like, it's not typically a timid or a self-conscious person who you follow. It is someone who boldly knows their conviction and they understand themselves, and then they can lead you as well to help you understand yourself. And so, as I close here, I just have a couple of questions for you. So, where does your leadership feel like you're carrying or you're wearing this old armor that doesn't quite fit? What version of success have you outgrown but are still performing for? And then, what would it feel like to finally lead like you? Not just the version of you that gets the applause, not the version of you that fits everyone's expectations. The version of you that earns success isn't wrong, but she might not be the one who will carry you into what's next. It might be time to up level you as a leader, and that starts with understanding how you're wired, how God wired you, what your strengths are. And so if you are interested, if you are ready to start diving into this idea of alignment and understanding, just like, Tammy, I want to see myself more clearly. Well, I have a quiz. It's a great place to start. TammyMarieCoaching.com/quiz. That'll give you kind of an idea of where to start. If you want to get on my calendar and you're like, Tammy, I'll take the quiz later, but right now something's stirring in my heart and I need to take action for it. Get on my calendar. There's a link in the show notes for the Elite Purpose Mapping call. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, it's a 45-minute call. There's some pre-work for it, and really, because at 45 minutes, I want you. It's not just a discovery call. It is a call that you and I will work together to create a blueprint for what's next for you. And so it's not just come and listen to me give you a spiel. Yes, I will offer you, I will show you how working with me can help you get it faster. But one way or another, you're going to walk away with a blueprint and idea of what your next steps are. And so I am so thankful that you're here. And well, as I close, just know that you are made for a purpose. Your identity gets to grow as you grow, and that we don't have to have this pressure to perform. If outputs are the only thing that's important, then okay, but that's not a leader. And if you're here, it's because you're called to lead in some capacity, whether it's your family, whether it's yourself, whether it's, something that you don't even know yet, whether it's a team that you already have or a team that you want. When you're ready to step into leadership, in a leadership role that fits you, that you could lead like you, that you can embrace and have the confidence and clarity to lead through your strengths. Let's chat. All right, friend. Thank you so much for tuning in to I was about to say the full weight of joy. No, it is a leader's purpose. I'm probably going to mess that up for a couple of times here, but I am excited to go on this journey. I've got some great I got some great guests lined up. I've got some great content lined up. I'm really excited about this program that's coming later this summer. It's just going to be the first step for clarity for you, help you gain the initial clarity so you can start taking action. Because we're in a world of information overload. And information is not enough to get us where we want. And a lot of times we have so much information that we don't even know where to start. And that's what I want to help you with. So, all right, friend, with that, choose joy until joy chooses you, and I will see you soon. Bye, friend.